Okay, Royal Dream Team, this is it. We are on the Wednesday Wisdom Call, and we have an extremely awesome, out-of-the-box, exciting teaching tonight. And we're so excited you're here with us. It's Terry Seacrest, your Royal Crown Diamond Upline with Young Living. I've got Beverly Banks here, our amazing assistant from Colorado.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, say hi, Bev. And we have Jeannie Krause here, our amazing assistant in Florida. And like we said many times in the past, you guys, if you have a dream, you have to have a team. And these ladies rock it. They absolutely rock it. I could not do it without them. So grateful, so grateful. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen with you all. All right. And then, all right, pull up my PowerPoint. And now let me see, Beverly, if I can get my PowerPoint full screen. And you're going to help me with this, of course.
No, you can have the PDF version up, but not the PowerPoint up. You realize
that's okay. I was thinking that that's okay for tonight.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
I'm going to do that. So, guys, are you ready? Are you ready? Do we? How many? Just put this in the chat box. How many entrepreneurs do we have on board tonight? Right? If you're an entrepreneur, just put the word yes, or maybe I would love to be an entrepreneur. Put that in your chat box, because that's what we're going to talk about tonight, igniting the entrepreneur in you. This is actually going to be a two-part series. We're going to teach this part one tonight, and then on December 13th, I'm going to teach the remaining part of this teaching. We're going to have a break for the next 2 weeks. We're going to break for Thanksgiving, and then we will resume the first Wednesday in December, and I'll teach the second Wednesday in December. So I just wanted to make sure you guys got that. And so what happens is, you guys, is that we have to prepare our mindset for abundance, don't we? Now listen, I'm a woman of faith, and so tonight you're going to be hearing some faith principles. I want everybody to know that I honor whatever faith you are. Whatever faith you are, honor that. And so, if you don't have the same belief system as me, it's okay. We can still be friends. I won't be offended. But as the leader of this team, as the leader of the Royal Dream Team, I'm going to share some secrets with you tonight that have helped me be successful. And one of them is what I love that Proverbs 11:10 says, when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. And this is a great picture of Boston, Massachusetts. And I love it. It makes me want to hop on a plane and go to Boston. Because when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. And now, why am I so passionate about teaching this business of being an entrepreneur? Well, you guys, in 2013, I actually had a riveting experience when a successful businessman from Australia by the name of Peter J. Daniels shook my world. He came to Colorado Springs and did a 3-day teaching in the particular church that I was attending. And there was 500 people in the audience. And the first question he asked is, how many entrepreneurs are there in the audience? And I raised my hand. I was all excited. And I looked around thinking there would be so many people raising their hands. And good gracious, there was only about 1% of the audience that raised their hand. And Mr. Daniels said, he shook his finger at us and he said, that's what's wrong with your country. He said, don't you know what made America great in her early years? He said 2 things. He said, number 1, the unmerited favor of God. And he said, number 2, the entrepreneurs. He said the entrepreneurs of America were the men and women that had a creative idea. And he said they rolled up their sleeves and they worked hard and they did not quit until they were successful. And he said during this time period in America, there were more inventions than ever in the history of our nation. And he said, it's time for the entrepreneurs in this country to rise up. He said, it's time to bring our businesses back to America. And he said, you've taken your businesses offshore. Then he said something amazing. He said, I'm from the country of Australia. He said, this is my 150th trip to your nation. And he said, I'm here with a warning. He said, if things don't change, he said, you're going to wake up one morning and you're not even going to recognize your country. Wow, I was shaken. And that's when I decided it was time for me to share in the success that I've had as an entrepreneur with Young Living Essential Oils and share that knowledge with many other people. And that's why we're here tonight. Now, what about some other world changers? You may be aware of this couple. This is Jim Suk and Du-Wang Chang, and they are full owners of Forever 21 with over 700 stores worldwide. They are very committed to their faith, and they actually print a scripture on the bottom of every one of their bags because they believe in what they're doing. This power couple supports missions all over the world. And so the next time you go into a Forever 21 store, just know this: free enterprise feeds philanthropy. All right? Now you may have heard of this gentleman. This is David Green, owner of Hobby Lobby. David has 680 stores that are all closed on Sunday. David takes 1/2 of his total pre-tax earnings of Hobby Lobby and gives it to ministries. He has given more than $500 million over a lifetime. So I'm trying to point out, you guys, that free enterprise is a very good system. It is a godly system, and this is the system of being an entrepreneur and being in network marketing with Young Living. Well, what about you? What about every person on this call tonight? You know what? You were born with a creative spark of genius in you, everyone on this call, or you wouldn't even be on this call. You have a rich heritage of entrepreneurs who have gone before you. As you listen and act upon the creative skills that make you 100% unique, you will experience true fulfillment in your business and in your personal life. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? If you believe that, just put the word yes in the chat box, because you were born to be a world changer. There's only one of you, just one of you. You were born to be a world changer, and Young Living can be the vehicle for you to change the world. Well, I like to tell people, if I could be successful in Young Living, anybody can. Why? Well, I had very humble beginnings 20 years ago, starting this business with Young Living. In the first place, we lived on an isolated horse ranch in the middle of nowhere in Arizona with practically no neighbors. We had no landline telephones. We actually had no computers. We couldn't get any computers. We had this giant cell phone that was so big and so heavy, you thought if you put it up to your ear, you might just get some horrible disease from the radiation. You know, that's the kind of way that I started my business. And I had 3 little babies, a newborn, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So how are you going to market in a situation like that? But there's only one thing I had, you guys, one thing, and I believe everyone on this call has it: passion. I had so much passion for our product line. I honestly felt in my heart that everyone needed what we have in Young Living. And that's all I had. And with that, and just, you know, reaching out to other people and asking for ideas from other people, I am now a Royal Crown Diamond in Young Living, which is the highest level that you can reach. And so, you guys, if I could do that 20 years ago without a computer, and we didn't even have marketing materials at that time, you can go higher and you can be more successful than me, everyone on this call. So tonight, we're going to talk about the first component of success. You know what? There's actually 3 components of success: mindset, business strategy, and leadership ability. Tonight, we're going to focus on mindset. What is your mindset? You know, people always say, Terry, I believe I was born for success. And I say, really? Oh, yes, I believe in success. But then I look at their actions and I look at the things that they're doing every day, and I realize they really don't believe that. In their heart, they really don't believe that, or they would be changing their actions. So let's look at mindset. Let's discuss 5 ways to prepare your mindset for abundance. All right, let's start with that. Number 1, it's important that we transform our mind from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. Now listen, it is important to note that everyone is not cut out to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. If everybody was an entrepreneur, good gracious, there wouldn't be anybody working in a grocery store. We wouldn't be able to buy groceries. So I'm grateful. You know, I'm so grateful for the precious lady that actually cleans my home every week. You want to know why? She comes here with a great attitude. She's positive. She comes with a smile on her face, and she does the absolute best of her ability at the job. And when somebody does that, you know what happens? They gain influence into your life. For example, she'll say, oh, Terry, I cannot believe you put those flowers there. They look ridiculous, and nobody's even going to see them. And I'm like, really? Well, where should I put them? She's like, they need to go by the front door so people can see them when they come in the front door. And I say, oh, that's great. And I move them right away because she has influence. All right, now let's look. Oh, let me back up. I want to back up. I want to talk about some positive aspects of being an employee. For example, you know, you have a paycheck. There's very little guesswork in, you know, what you're doing. You have a low responsibility level as, you know, a lower responsibility level. And you do have a lot of comfort. You know, you just can work from 9 to 5 and go home, and that's great. But now, what I love the freedom of being an entrepreneur. Now, let's look at that. Number 1, self-leadership. You guys, it's so much fun to be able to say, I'm going to grow, I'm going to develop as a person, and I'm going to learn how to lead. It's fun. Number 2, you are the primary decision maker in your business. And yeah, it's hard. Let me tell you, it's hard, especially when some of your team members go, oh, Terry, that is extravagant. How did you ever come up with that idea? Okay, but you are the primary decision maker. Number 3, you have the freedom to choose who you want to work with. Who do you want on your team? There's no, you know, you're free to choose that. All right, there's no ceiling on your income. There's absolutely no ceiling on your income. I love that, all right? And you do have to have a lot of self-discipline. Even though you get to choose your own working hours, guys, you have to work, okay? You have to work. So self-discipline. I think one of the things I love more than anything is we get to be visionaries. I go to bed at night and I literally wake up with marketing ideas. I can't even wait to get out of bed in the morning. I'm like, Jeannie, guess what I just figured out in the middle of the night? She'll go, Terry, at least let me have a cup of Ningxia Red first before you tell me these crazy ideas. But I'm telling you, you are the visionary, okay, of your team. Now, what I really want to talk about now is what's called the law of the lid. This is super important. If I ask you guys right now on a scale of 1 to 10, where you see yourself, 1 being the lowest, you know, down kind of beginner stages, 10 being the highest, where do you see yourself as a business owner with Young Living? Okay? This is critical because if you say, you know, Terry, right now, I kind of think I see myself as a 5. That's okay. At least you're not a 4. So you say, I see myself as a 5. But the challenge is this: when you see yourself as a 5, there is an invisible lid that actually sits right on the top of your head at the 5. And until you can remove that invisible lid, you cannot go to a 6 or a 7. Well, you say, well, how do I move the lid? What do I do? Okay. So what happens is you've got to figure out what caused that lid to go there. Okay. It could be your own limiting belief. It could be a limiting belief that was handed down from a parent or a grandparent. You might have had a grandparent that said, no one in this family has ever been a CEO. We're blue collar workers. That's just who we are, or maybe, I hope this never happened to you guys, but maybe you had a parent that said, Terry, you're just not that smart. I just don't know if you're going to amount to very much. I was blessed to have parents that always said wonderful things. They always said, you're going to be a world changer, but listen, no matter what your history is not your destiny. You can start right now speaking over yourself, speaking over your children, speaking over your team members in Young Living and saying, you know what? You are a diamond. I see you as a diamond. And you begin speaking that over yourself right now, and you're going to see a change. So what I want to encourage you guys to do is to think about this. Look at this. 3 John 1 and 2 says, Beloved, I wish above all things, not just a little bit, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. Wow, that's a very big statement. God sees you as a 10. He sees you as a 10. He doesn't see you as a 5 or a 6. So you need to realize that it is absolutely his desire for you to walk in blessing. It is his desire for you to walk with creative ideas in business, for you to walk in success. You were just born to be blessed. I wake up in the morning and I say, you know what? I just only receive blessings. I just receive blessings. And I don't listen to negativity. And so it's very important what you allow that goes into your ears and what you allow your eyes to see. You have to guard your eyes and guard your ears and realize what kind of things you're getting on the television and quit listening to what you're getting on the television, because that is not going to get you where you want to go. Okay? So there are some beautiful essential oils that when you breathe Young Living essential oils, they're going to go from the olfactory in your nose to the amygdala region in your brain in just 3 seconds. Now, this is the part where all emotions are stored throughout a lifetime. And that's the only part of the brain that does not respond to smell. It only responds to smell. It does not respond to our words. All the rest of our brain responds to our words. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, right? So words are important, but this region of the amygdala brain, when you breathe in essential oils and it reaches the brain, it becomes a communication system between the brain and the body. For example, lavender. You breathe in lavender and the brain says, Terry, it is time to let go of the stress of the day. Let go, and your shoulders go down. Terry, it's time to go to sleep. It's just time to go, just shut it off and go to sleep. The brain speaks to the body and tells the body what to do. So let's just say there is something in you that does not feel deserving of success, right? We have an oil blend called Release. We have a beautiful blend called Acceptance. We have a blend called Abundance. Start breathing those blends and see which one resonates with you. Whichever one resonates with you, breathe that blend for 7 days. Keep it in your pocket. Keep it in your purse. Be breathing that, anointing yourself with that blend for 7 days, and you're going to start to see a shift. I believe you'll start to see a shift. All right? That's it. And the second thing is get an accountability partner. You guys, we were never meant to do life alone. We were never meant to try to take ourselves to the next level alone. That's not how God created us. He created us to be in community. So if you're feeling like you're out there somewhere all alone, on the mountaintop or in the desert, you need to take a look at that, and you need to make a shift and reach out and find one person that you can partner with and say, you know what? I want to get that lid off my head, and I want to get to a 6 or a 7. Okay? So that's what is important. Be breathing those oils. Well, what are some other things to consider? Guess what, guys? If you're going to go to the top in your Young Living business, you need to be willing to leave the crowd behind. Why in the world am I saying that? Because guess what? Guess what? Average people want you to stay average. Average people want you to stay average. If I cannot tell you how many times when I started going to Europe and I started traveling to Singapore and Malaysia and Australia, people that knew me years ago in high school, they would say, Terry, why would you ever want to do that? Why would you ever want to leave Iowa and go to Singapore? And I'm like, guys, I love Iowa. I love my home state. But God has bigger things for me. You've got to be willing to stand alone. Why? For most of my life, I was a people pleaser. I love people. And because I love people, I wanted to be liked by people. But you know what? It just doesn't always work that way, And so you've got to ask yourself, who am I spending the most time with? And are they life-giving people that are spurring me on to greatness? Okay? You know what? The Bible says the fear of man brings a snare, but he who trusts in the Lord will be exalted. Proverbs 29:25. Again, the fear of man. If you're looking for people to, to give you kudos or whatever, you're never going to please everybody. The minute you fulfill one expectation from somebody else, they're going to put another expectation on you. You will never be able to feel their expectations. So get over it. Get over it. I like to say, listen, mind your own business. Because I'm minding my own Young Living business. I'm minding my store. What about you? What are you passionate about? I throw it back in their court. What are you passionate about? What are you achieving in your life? Okay? It is critical that you are always looking at developing as a person every day, every week, and every month. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is develop a hunger for knowledge. Listen, reading inspires and equips you. Investing in your knowledge and your personal development gives you more confidence. Number 1, more confidence, more decision-making ability, and teaches you how to connect with people. You've got to learn connecting skills, communication skills. How do I connect with different personality types? All of this is absolutely critical for your own self-esteem and for connecting with members of your team. All right. Now, where do we get wisdom from? Well, a beautiful place to get wisdom from is Scripture. It's a tremendous place to get wisdom from. Now, there are many other places. As a woman of faith, when I was, a lot younger, I loved spending just hours and hours and hours reading Scripture. And one day the Lord spoke to me. He goes, Terry, guess what? He said, guess what? He said, I inspired many other people to write books that you can learn from. And I'm like, really? Wow. And all of a sudden, a whole new world opened to me. For example, I am a huge fan of John Maxwell. He has written 120 best-selling books that are every single book is better than the next book. So, the Lord inspires people. We are meant to learn from other people. And so there are many ways to do that. Okay? So what do we do after we've read tons of books? We go beyond books. What else can we do? We're going to attend local conferences. Guys, go to the Young Living website and look for the next conference near you and make every effort to be there. One of my team members, who is a highly successful team member, she studied for one entire year by going to local Young Living events. Every single time there was an event, she was in the front row, and she is highly successful now. Seek out experts in your field in Young Living. If you're interested in oils for pets, or maybe you're interested in gardening, seek out experts in that field in the local area where you are and learn from those people. If you're interested in cooking with essential oils, my goodness gracious, take a cooking class. Study from someone that is an expert in your field. You know, if there was never another book written, ever, there is enough knowledge right now for you to become the top of your game in success. There is enough knowledge right now if another book was never written. Okay, now let's move on. You guys, mentors are essential. Proverbs 1:5 says, a wise man hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. So as you're building your Young Living business, during different times of your business, you're going to need different types of mentors. For example, when you first start your Young Living business, you might very well need to look for a financial mentor. How do you set up your business? How do you set up your tax structure? How do you do all this? So you might need a financial mentor. You may very well need a health mentor. As a certified wellness coach, I will share with you that in the early stages of my Young Living business, all that I did was mentor people in their health. That was the only role that I had at that time for years. And I just mentored people in their health, in their health, in their health. And then as my clientele base would increase, then I began learning more about leadership and how to actually become, a leader in business. All right. You might need a spiritual mentor. You might need a life coach mentor to help you with things that have to do with just everyday life. So you guys, everyone needs a mentor. Begin thinking about that and just start with one mentor. So I've got a question to ask everyone on this call tonight. Who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with all week long? Now, if you're married, let me tell you right now, your spouse is exempt. All right? You might say, oh, brother, I'm married to a deadbeat. I don't care. Your spouse is exempt, so get over it, right? Okay, work on the relationship. But I'm talking about the 5 friends or business partners that you spend the most time with all week. Because guess what? They're either going to be lifting you up or they're going to be pulling you down. There's no such thing as staying equal. There's no such thing. It doesn't happen. So listen, those people are critical for your growth. You want to be around people that are smarter than you. I'm always looking for people that are smarter than me. I'm always looking for people that are more successful than me. What area of success can I learn from this person? You want to look for people that have more knowledge about just life skills, people that have different, for example, I had many times have had to hire a computer mentor because that is my weak area. Technology is an area, and I like to say I am advancing every day in technology. I am learning and growing every day in technology. Why? Because I am speaking those things as though that are not as though they were over myself. So I have grown, people that know me know that I've grown a lot. But you guys, you want to be very careful who you spend your time with, all right? And sometimes in life, there are people we have to bless and let go of. And we have to move on because those people, like I said, average people want you to stay average, okay? Now, number four in preparing our mindset for success is developing strong daily habits. What do I mean by that? Guys, we cannot build an uphill life with downhill habits, can we? You can't. And guess what? There's no such thing as just coasting. You might say, oh, Terry, I'm tired. I just want to coast a little bit. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as coasting. You're either on the upswing or you're on the downswing. Well, what causes us to be on the downswing? What is a downhill habit? Procrastination, laziness. Entitlement is a huge one. We've got an entitlement generation, but I'll tell you what, I love this generation. They're going to turn around. You're going to see what's happened because they like it real. This young generation, they don't want anything fake. They want it real. That's going to be a powerful generation. Distractions. Facebook. I love Facebook for marketing, but I don't spend endless hours on there just, endlessly talking about this or that. Okay? Negative attitude. A negative attitude is the number one downhill habit that will ruin your life and your Young Living business. All right? So what do? We have got to raise our standards. If you're on this call tonight, and let's just say you're a silver, gold, platinum, diamond with Young Living, okay, and you're leading a team of people, the first thing you want to do as a leader is help a person stop the downhill spiral. You got to help them stop that downhill spiral, put the brakes on. That's number one. Once you are successful at helping them stop the downhill spiral, then you're going to help them get that uphill spiral. Reminds me of the little engine that could, right? Okay. Well, what are the uphill habits? Number one is persistence. Instead of procrastination, we've got persistence. Number two, diligence. You're just not going to give up. You just don't take no for an answer, guys. No is not acceptable. Okay. Number three is gratitude. You want to know an amazing thing? I could erase everything I'm talking about right now and just, if we did one thing in our life, and that is have an attitude of gratitude, you can go to the top in any business with an attitude of gratitude. Number four is focus. In today's world, everybody says, you got to be a multitasker. Forget about it. Multitasking will dilute your success more than anything else. I do not believe in it. I believe in starting one activity with my Young Living business and staying with that one activity until I'm done with it. Then I might take a 5-minute break and I might go on to my next activity. Focus is way more powerful than multitasking. And the final area is your positive attitude. When you change that negative attitude to a positive attitude, remember, when you change yourself, you change your entire team. Your entire team is going to shift whenever you shift. Okay? Okay. Now, let's talk about this. Guys, ask yourself this question. What has prevented you from being successful? Let's just say you had another business before Young Living. Let's say you had a full-time job at whatever. And you say, Terry, I really did not reach the highest level of success in that job. You've got to ask yourself why. Because whatever was holding you back in that job is going to hold you back in Young Living. So here's just a couple of examples to think about. Number one is a people skill. Listen, don't feel bad. We were never taught people skills in high school, were we? Did they have a class on people skills in college? Not really. So people skills. Number two, a technical skill. This is huge for those of us that are over 50. This is huge, a technical skill. Number three, a family situation. Some of us have kind of tragic, ongoing family situations, but what you need to realize is, I don't care what you have. You can work within that difficult situation. You can still work a Young Living business. Don't let that become an excuse. Don't let that become a stumbling block. You can still work your Young Living business, okay? Your health can be a stumbling block. Guys, get serious. Gary Young, who's my great mentor, Gary Young, founder of this company, he says, listen, you've got to be a product of the product. If you're a product of the product, people will stop you on the street and they'll say, what are you doing? Why do you have so much energy? Get serious about your health walk with Young Living and become a product of the product. Next is a bad habit. If you have a bad habit, you've got to get an accountability partner and say, listen, I'm struggling with this or that. Now, this has to be somebody that loves you unconditionally, not somebody that's going to judge you. You get an accountability partner. You ask them to partner with you for 90 days. Will you partner with me for 90 days and help me in this area that I'm struggling with? You know, deep down inside, we know what our blind spots are. We know, but it's just important to voice them, to get them out, and to clarify them and to write them down. So write down what it is you're going to work on for the next 90 days. Well, number 5 in preparing your mindset for success is discover your passion. I love what Yo-Yo Ma, world famous cellist, says. He says, passion is one great force that unleashes creativity. Because if you are passionate about something, then you are more willing to take a risk, okay? You are more willing to take a risk. Remember what I said about how there was no reason for me to succeed 20 years ago in Young Living. It was my passion for the products of Young Living that got me. So now, this is a really fun test I want to encourage you guys to do. All right, so get out a piece. If you don't have a piece of paper, be sure that you get one out right now, okay? As soon as you get off this call, I want to encourage you. Spend some time writing 10 things that you would just love to jump out of bed and do tomorrow morning. And if money were no object, so money's no object, don't think about that, because when you have a God idea, a good idea, the money's going to be there, all right? You're going to write down 10 things you jump out of bed and do. Then, and it's fun to do it with a friend or a spouse or one of your children. Then spend time looking at that. Talk about it. Walk around. Think about it. Make a cup of hot chocolate or some Ningxia Red. And then circle your top 5. Circle the top 5 that really jump out at you. Then spend some more time thinking about it, looking at that, examining that, and then put a star by your top 3. And 9 times out of 10, Young Living is probably going to be in one of your top 3 if you love helping people with their health. I know that Young Living is definitely in one of my top 3. Now, these top 3 are things you can be doing right now, this year. You can't do all 10 this year, but you can do 3 this year. I want to give you one example of something that I like to do this on New Year's Eve. So it's fun to do it, once or twice a year. And something that ended up in my top 3 at the end of last year is ballroom dancing. I wanted to learn how to waltz. That has been a passion of mine for years, and I put it on the back burner. And I thought, you know what? It's time to get it off the back burner and start doing what I'm passionate about. And I roped Jeannie into it. I said, Jeannie, you got to go with me, because otherwise I might chicken out. And so Jeannie and I went, and sure enough, I said, oh, I think I'm too busy. Oh, Jeannie. You know what she said? Turn off that computer. Go get your dancing shoes on. We are going to the dance studio. And off we went to the dance studio, and we've been enjoying it ever since. So you've got to find out what you're passionate about. And as it relates to Young Living, within the context of Young Living, figure out what you're passionate about as it relates to sharing our products. Everybody's not cut out for social media. Do you love to share our products with a cup of tea, one-on-one with someone? Or do you enjoy a group of 8 or 10 women sitting around, the kitchen table? I know myself, I love teaching large groups. I love big groups of people. Figure out what you're cut out for. And guess what? That's how you're going to be successful in Young Living. Figure out how it relates to Young Living, how you can share our products, and you'll be successful that way. Well, I love what Jim Rohn says. He says, you know, guys, if you don't design your own life, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Wow. That's a powerful statement. Have you ever felt like you were on that treadmill where someone else was kind of choosing your life for you? Well, you got to get over that. Whatever happens in your life is your responsibility, your opportunity. So if you're not as successful in Young Living as you'd like to be, you got to analyze that, because you've got to choose to live intentionally and put your time intentionally of what your heart's desire is. Well, we're going to take some questions now, but I want to give you a sneak preview of our next session, which is December 13th. And it's all about building your business strategy with Young Living, how to share Young Living, what are some different marketing ideas that you can do to share Young Living with other people. And so we're going to talk about building your business strategy on December 13th. Now, this teaching is going to be available in the Marketing Sense, and you're going to want to go on the Royal Dream Team business page, and Beverly will upload this teaching for you, and you can go there. In addition to that, for many other business teachings, you can go to my website, which is www.terriseacrest.com. So I'll spell my name, TERISEC, like Charlie, REST.com, and go to the website, and you will be able to download many other teachings of mine. All right, now Beverly, I want to take these questions, and I want to take it off of, I want to stop my screen share. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, super. All right, so Beverly, I know you probably have been watching the chat box there, and do we have some questions?
Well, we haven't had any questions pop up, but there's been a few aha moments for sure. For example, we talked a little bit about oils, and then also the 5 people question was definitely a light bulb to Pat. So
okay, good, excellent, excellent. That's great. Okay, hi Elizabeth Rose.
So Terry, if somebody really wants to get a more positive mindset, is there something that you could recommend, like a good place to start? Like, is there a recording in particular, or what do you think?
Well, number 1 is to become a policeman of your words. I cannot stress this enough, because sometimes we think we're positive. Oh, yes, I'm positive. But I'm telling you, the stuff that I hear come out of people's mouths. So as a certified wellness coach, Bev, when I coach families, parents and children, I listen very, very intently for what's coming out of their mouth. Because oftentimes sickness, physical weakness in the body is caused by an attitude. And out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So yes, it is a heart issue. But if we begin to be a policeman of our words, and we begin to only speak positive things out of our mouth, it affects our heart. It affects the atmosphere in our family around us. It affects the atmosphere of our Young Living team, of everything around us. And so, I learned the most amazing thing 3 weeks ago in Kansas. I want to share. I'm glad you asked me this question. I was speaking at a church in Kansas for 3 days, and the pastor's wife has the most beautiful, exemplary children, just exemplary daughters. They have 3 daughters, all married, and to very successful marriages. And I said, what is the secret of these successful marriages? And she said, Terry, my husband and I decided that once our daughters were married, we would never, voice one negative thing about their spouse out of our mouth, even in the privacy of their bedroom, the husband and wife's bedroom, the pastor and his wife, they said, we decided we would never voice one negative thing about their spouse because we did not want that in the atmosphere. And I thought, she said, we continually speak positive words over their marriage and over them as a couple. And I thought, that is really powerful. That is so powerful. I know there's been times in my life, Bev, where I've said, oh, why did Daniel do this or that? Or why did Joseph do this? Oh my goodness, and I just didn't know any better. But I don't say that anymore. I'm always speaking positive things over my children at every opportunity. So how does that relate to Young Living, Bev? Speaking positive affirmations over your downline, over your business partners, saying, you know what? My team is extraordinary. My team walks in wisdom. My team has wonderful creative marketing ideas. And my team is always growing and learning. And I have a diamond team. I've got a diamond team. And just speaking over your team, you'll be amazed at how that can shift the atmosphere in your team.
That's excellent. That's fantastic. Even, I unfortunately see a lot of people who vent negative things over social media. And if you want to talk just about the atmosphere in your home, imagine what that does to the atmosphere, across states and across countries.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the things on social media, it never leaves the atmosphere.
Yeah.
There for weeks and months to come, So if you can't think of something nice, my parents used to say, Terry, if you can't think of something nice, don't say anything at all.
That's what I tell my children.
And again, to have that permanent change though, let me give just one example of the power of breathing essential oils to make those permanent shifts. Elizabeth and I had the privilege to go to Indonesia, to Bali, last year and minister to a group of people there. And so I did a teaching on the biblical essential oils in Bali. And following the teaching, a young gal, age 23, came up to me and asked if I would pray with her. And she didn't tell me why. And I said, of course. I said, now, based on the teaching, I said, did you understand how I was talking about you breathing the frankincense and how that frankincense could get into that amygdala region where emotions are stored? She goes, yes. She goes, will you anoint me? So I anointed her head with oil. I put the oil in her hands and I had her breathe the oil. I anointed myself and began to pray with this gal. Well, no sooner than maybe 3 minutes maximum went, and she began to cry and cry and cry. And when it was all over, she said, Miss Terry, she said, I just cannot believe the vision I just had. And I said, what happened? She said, I'm from China. And when I was born, it was illegal to have more than one baby. And especially if you had a boy, that was okay, but you can't just have a girl because the girl, they didn't want any more girls. So when her mother was pregnant with her, she took her to a relative and was hiding for 3 months, was hiding with her so that nobody would discover her. And she said, I never saw my mother's face because she said, when I was born, I was given up for adoption. She said, I've never seen my mother's face. And she said, when you poured the frankincense on my head and you asked me to breathe the frankincense, she said, I had the most clear vision of my mother ever. And my mother was hiding in this house and she had her hands crossed like this, Beverly, like she was trying to protect herself. And she said, Terry, my whole life, I always have walked around like this. And she said, I never knew why. And she said, I no longer have to protect myself. And she went like this to me.
Aww.
And she said, I'm free. She said, my mother loved me and my mother was just trying to protect me. And she said, I am free now. And that was just within you know, within 1 hour of something that she had been holding all these years. And the next day, during this conference that I was at, Elizabeth and I were anointing people's feet with oil. The head of the conference said, "Look at this girl," because her whole face had changed. Her countenance had changed. Her face had changed. She had a joyful countenance for the first time ever. So that's the power of how, when you are ready to release those things that have held you back, how these essential oils, it's not the oils are not some miracle. Don't get me wrong. It's just you have made a conscious decision. And by breathing certain oils, it is helping to release that out of the DNA of your memory. So
That's a great story.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'm just so thrilled that you guys have taken your time to be with us this evening. And I just ask that the Lord would bless and multiply all of your efforts in Young Living. And we're really enthusiastic about Thanksgiving coming up. So excited about that. And I hope you all have a very special Thanksgiving. God bless you.
Thanks everybody for getting on. It's so cool to see different faces and everything on here. I totally recognize some people.
Yes, yes. You know what I'll do
It's fun
is
to see the team every week, isn't it?
Elizabeth, let me unmute everybody for a second and just see if, let's see if we can unmute everybody. Okay, here we go. All right.
So I'm scrolling through. I see Beverly and I see, let's see, I'm trying to think of the other people I know. Carol, Paul. Yay, Paul's on.
Yay.
Denise.
Well, listen, guys.
Hi, Ginger.
It's been a great time with you all. I know it's late. It's always late on the East Coast here, so we try to really stick with our time frame. So we're going to see you the first Wednesday in December. See you all.
Yes.
All right.
Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, Deb.
Happy Thanksgiving.